Mary says, guys don't like girls who make a big deal about self-respect.
I know you're desperate, but have some self-respect.
Hello friends, trace amounts of science. Today we're back again with Married Mary, our favorite Legbeard saga, sort of a precursor to the Neckbeard saga that was Funky P. It's been quite a ride, I'll tell you that much. We have a couple parts left to go, but ain't no problem with that. We're gonna get on through it. And thank you so much for joining me today. Married Mary Part 11, War. Huh. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again now. War. Look out. What is it good for? I don't know if you did, but if you did, thanks a lot. When we left off, I had just confessed to Mary that I was low-key dating whiskey. I thought I was doing the responsible, respectful thing. Yes, because Mary's such a responsible, respectful person. She deserves that. If it's your friend, I get it. But with hindsight, yeah, fuck her. Mary burst into a fit of histrionics before she composed herself and icily stated that I owed her. And instead of being clear about what she was expecting and waiting for me to pay the piper with, she simply jiggled her Jupiters, stalked out of the bar, and took what she felt entitled to. War. I mean, that is a pretty good horseman of the beard-pocalypse for Mary to be. She's definitely not famine, I can tell you that much. Maybe she's plague. Not death. Not yet. That happens in another 10 years. Anyway, a few days later, my phone buzz-chirped. Hey, yo, you got that chirp? I opened my messages to find several pics of Dennis's Jeep, a blurry mess of lights, and a final shot of Dennis leaning back in the driver's seat with his eyes closed and his junk out and at attention. And there was a caption, "Consider us even." You shouldn't care about this. Really, you shouldn't care about this at all. But I know it hurts. I know it does. You gotta keep that stiff upper lip, though. Never let him see you sweat, especially from your eyes. I saw red, said OP. The possibility of finding peaceful contentment with whiskey was a distant memory, a figment of my imagination. I now wanted blood. I wanted to slap Mary's fat fucking face senseless. I wanted to rat her out to her husband Chuck. I was livid. Angry heat spread from my sternum to my shoulders, and the sharp sting of wrath radiated through my being. I rang Mary. Mary, how does it feel, bitch? I couldn't make words. I was shaking, my head was spinning. All I could muster was a squeaky little, why? I thought there was going to be some righteous justice, some indignation here. She answered the phone. She wants this just as bad as you do. Light her up. Mary says, well, you owed me. I took a deep breath. Mary, I was trying to do right by you when I told you that I was dating whiskey. I was scared, but I thought you deserved to hear it from me. And I'm not even boning him, so why get with Dennis? I'm not even seeing him anymore. Mary, but you still love him. I know you, Valley. I still love Whiskey Boo Whiskers, so we're even. Yeah, sure, even Stevens. I don't actually care about the Duke. Can I just have my Hello Kitty compact back? Did you ever get it back, OP? I mean, probably she did. George Gay seems to come through. Anyway, OP says, what if I'd gone out with artistic director? Would you conveniently still be in love with him? Mary, you can't claim every man on the planet. How did you even find Dennis? Do you even like him? Mary, totes! He's so cute! But I can find the sexy in any man. It's a gift. You need to get over yourself. I wouldn't be mad if you hooked up with Hoggy. We'd be like quadruple Eskimo sisters. Yes, and if I never caught anything through that ordeal, I would wear that as a badge of honor. Go ahead, read the badge. It says, I confronted super AIDS and survived. And I stammered some unintelligible pseudo-cursing. Mary, this is why people are always leaving you. You're petty and you're selfish and you're nasty. Oh, here we go. The gloves are coming off for real. Mary, nasty is normal, Miss Goody Two-Shoes. Wanna hear what I did with your precious little nerdlet? Nerdlet.
Nerd!
Yeah, it's kind of funny. And I will say, nasty can be normal. But even more normal than that, I think, is morality. You can do all the nasty things you want on your own time, but when it comes to affecting other people, yeah, maybe just consider twice. Don't do things like this on purpose. I think I recall OP being from California, which does sort of explain some things like this. As an ex-Californian myself, yes, people are rather self-serving and nasty out that way. It's one of the reasons I had to leave. That and housing prices. OP says, no, I don't want to hear what you did with my nerdlet. And Mary says, we banged it out. A whole bunch in his car. He was like my little spinner.
I'm a fidget spinner.
He bangs like a stallion, and he took forever to get there. But when he did... And then she gasped like an adult film star. Probably took forever to get there because you're just disgusting to look at. Dennis took forever? Yeah, right. Either Mary's capricious cooter kept him in the game, or Mary was lying. I started to call her out, but the recounting of her filthy fictional fantasy continued. Nice alliteration. And then he told me to lie down in the parking lot, and he peed in my general direction. It was so hot.
I'm gonna piss on your boobs and put my nuts in your mouth.
I can't imagine Mary just laying down in a parking lot. Disgusting fucking ham beast, so eager for male attention. Ugh. Nasty, dude. OP says, I don't believe you. That's not one of his proclivities, and there's no way that Mary... Well, he told me that you were too vanilla to do anything fun. My blood boiled over again. And OP says, yeah, I didn't want to get butt blasted without a rubber by a guy who couldn't even be bothered to show up when we had plans. That's not being vanilla. That's having self-respect. You might as well be speaking in a foreign language to Mary. The parking lot pee-pee queen. And Mary says, guys don't like girls who make a big deal about self-respect.
I know you're desperate, but have some self-respect.
Oh my god. It's a major turn-off. That's why I get the good D on the rag while you're at home writing about your feelings and drying up. Hey, now that we're done fighting, you can pick me up and take me out for sushi. I'll teach you how to make men happy, and then you owe me dinner. I obviously pleased Dennis when you couldn't. Just tell her, yeah, let's meet in this 7-Eleven parking lot, and then you get a ski mask and a ReddX Industries brand lead pipe, and you do what needs to be done. Not a jury in the land will convict you. They'll all sit there and look at each other and be like, I've had to do what needs to be done before. Everybody's like, yeah, we've all been there. Case dismissed. Words failed me, yet again. I mean, there really is no logical course of action aside from hitting her until she stops. Stops everything. Breathing, brain function, whatever. After some more unintelligible stammering, I shouted out a far filthier version of, "Go screw!" and hung up on her. I put on my sneakers and ran aimlessly through my neighborhood until I almost collapsed. I mean, that's one way to make the brain hurt stop. You get some body hurt started. ReddX Industries approves this message. Once I trudged back home, I smoked a crap ton of cigarettes and drank a crap ton of vodka, which for me was only like 3 shots, but I really did collapse afterwards. I mean, at least you got the running in, I guess. Maybe it balances out. Let's hope. And I'd soon find out that Mary stalked Megan's ex because Megan owed her for dating George Strait. But Megan's ex had a gun and the good sense to call the cops. So, trying to bang dudes who'd once been important to the mean girls who dared to date one of the many, many, many men that Mary had once mooned over was apparently just something that sodding cow did. On the rag! But that failed to make me feel better. I could sort of see that. It's hard to lose friends, you know, but at a certain point you have to realize they're not a friend. It's time to scrape them off. This journey's gonna be a whole lot easier without you in it, Mary. Up to this point, I felt like I had been patient with Mary. More patient than she deserved. I probably hadn't done her any favors by allowing her to behave like a fucking maniac while I did nothing more than gently suggesting alternative behaviors. I still wanted to have faith in her ability to grow emotionally. Yeah, horizontally, no problem. She's got that. But all of that came crashing down. For some reason, my formerly improved sense of self-respect crashed as well. I mean, if the dude that you once mooned over is going pigging, yeah, that probably doesn't feel so great. It's like, oh no, I wasn't special. He'll stick it in anything that moves. And that seems to be the case a lot of times, unless you spend a lot of time together, really built some rapport. And I mean actual rapport, not the limerence and obsession that built the Dennis caricature that Opie fell in love with. He's useless, bro. Dog, bro. Why are we still doing this? I guess because young love is hard, and it really sucks a lot of the time. But we're learning every day. We're getting stronger. Anyway, Opie says I texted Whiskey, planned to meet him at his, Maury's, mommy's townhouse, and I did successfully bang him. Yeah, that's the best way to start a physical relationship. Out of vengeance! It was absolutely a hate bang, even though I didn't hate Whiskey at all, yet. I had never engaged in hate-fueled intimacy before. I didn't realize that those two states could coexist like that. Yeah, pretty awesome, isn't it? What a spicy mix. As reluctant as I am to admit it, it was cathartic. It often is, dude. It was also admittedly unfair to Whiskey because, yeah, he had no idea what was happening. I don't think he cares. I just used him to make myself feel marginally better about a guy that I guess I still had some kind of feelings for. I didn't even tell Mary about it. It illogically made me feel powerful to know that I had done something that would have gotten those fat girl tears a-flowing. Ah yes, the feeling of secret power. I too enjoy it. You have to unsheathe that blade at just the right moment, and then you cut her deep. Was this denial? Did I secretly want to bang Whiskey? Dude, I don't freaking know. It's been over a decade, and the denial was deep, if it was there at all, and that's the most honest answer that I can give you. I mean, you did want to on some level, since it happened. But yeah, you don't really know how deep the depths of his depravity go. You're like, oh, he seems like a nice dude. Maybe I can use him for my own means. Nah, just kidding. That's what every human does. What a cynical outlook on the world, ReddX. Yeah, well, you do this long enough, you see it all. In case I've been unclear, I'm fully acknowledging that my actions were immature and inconsiderate and indefensible. Don't bang somebody just because you're mad at somebody else, kids. Nobody wins. Well, it might feel like winning for a short time, but it's not! It's bad behavior, and I absolutely hold myself accountable. Did I deserve to get verbally maltreated by a psycho neckbeard lurking behind the mask of the man that I just hate-banged? No. Unequivocally, no. But would Whiskey have been well within his rights to dump me in a spectacular fashion if he'd realized what I was doing in that moment? Abso-freaking-lutely. Like I said, I don't think he'd care. He'd just be like, that's weird. Whatever. At least I'm getting laid.
Put a bag on my head. Still count, I'll just have sex.
Opie says, hell, I would have totally deserved it if he booted me out of his house buck naked and screamed insults from the window. For those not well versed in these matters, an isolated hurling of insults is not the same as chronic verbal maltreatment within the context of a relationship, but that's a serious topic that feels out of place in this story. Yeah, it could have been like a one and done. Oh, that person's a maniac. I don't want to engage in a relationship with him. Unfortunately, yeah, not that lucky. He's still playing his role as the loyal beta orbiter who finally got what he was actually orbiting for. Okay, that's also another serious topic for another video. Instead of calling me on my crap and giving my butt the boot, Whiskey remained oblivious as to what was going on in my misguided mind, and he took the hate bang to mean that our relationship had just gone to the next level. Yeah, I guess that's the same conclusion I would draw. And he became even sweeter and more affectionate towards me. This made my skin crawl because all my feelings for Dennis, both good and bad, had just come flooding back with a vengeance. I had no idea what to do with them. Part of me wanted Dennis to hug me and apologize. Part of me just wanted to punch him right in the dick.
Weakness identified.
Part of me wanted Whiskey to hug me and assure me that I had value as a human being, even if some golden god hadn't chosen me to be his partner. I mean, I knew in my heart of hearts that my value as a human being didn't depend on Dennis's wanting me, but I wanted to hear someone else say it. And then, part of me wanted to snap at Whiskey every time he touched me in a suggestive way and say, "You're not the one I want, you circus freak!" Oh, man. There's more than just a little bit of misguidance going on here. Some definite nice girl vibes, but I think that it's helpful that OP explains her point of view, the thought process behind all of this stuff. It's like if you were young and dumb in love, then maybe you could see yourself doing some of these things, no? It's just a human condition. Who hasn't done what they had to do before? OP says the truth is I didn't really want Dennis either. I mean, I wanted him in theory, but I didn't want the real version of him. Yeah, the version I invented is so much nicer. He was a flake. He was nasty. I couldn't wrap my head around his inconsistent, albeit devout, spiritual beliefs. He was indeed a braggadocious butthead. I suspected that he wasn't even a very nice person beneath his affable veneer. No need to suspect, that stuff's confirmed. Even so, I was irrationally irate with Mary for deliberately stalking him and seducing him. Did she really think that her hoe bag antics would make me rethink finally dating a guy who was consistently nice to me? I might not have been properly smitten with Whiskey, but I was enjoying the relatively stress-free togetherness. Furthermore, I hadn't stalked the bearded giant. I hadn't even pursued him. In fact, I'd initially rebuffed him several times, albeit not out of respect for Mary. She, on the other hand, deliberately tracked Dennis down just to get as far as she possibly could with him and then throw their tryst in my face. Yeah, I think that's the only reason Mary gets close to people, so she can find their weak point and twist it when it suits her. I certainly never gloated to Mary whenever Whiskey and I went to the movies or met up for coffee. It never even occurred to me. My flirty friendship with him had nothing to do with Mary's fat ass. Well, not initially. And even after I banged Whiskey as a screw you to Mary, I was only getting revenge in my head because, yeah, I never told her about it. Ah, the feeling of secret power. I suppose it does bring up somewhat of an ethical conundrum. Like, it's a noble thing to want to try and tell the truth, but if it does nothing but sow discord, then is it still a noble thing, or is it a selfish thing? This thing that you needed to get off your chest? Like, I guess Mary would find out anyway, but maybe it's best to just let her find out, naturally. I don't know, I don't have time for ethical conundrums today. You let me know down in the comments. I mean, seriously, how are these two situations alike? What am I failing to see here? Maybe I was the villain. I certainly wasn't innocent, but neither was Mary. I think I responded to her immaturity with immaturity. Bad move. It's par for the course on the internet. Don't feel too bad. Then again, it's easy to coulda, shoulda, woulda myself now that I'm so far removed from those emotions and events, and it's easy to look back and say that I shouldn't have let it upset me, but yeah, it did upset me. And not just because I was jealous. I was fed up with Mary's obnoxious thirst, her entitlement, her stealing, her arrogance. She had zero regard for faithfulness or loyalty or fidelity when it was expected of her, and yet she demanded fealty from every single person in her realm, as though she were Henrietta VIII or something, the majestic mountain of madness, queen of clunge. Bow down and lick the regal snail trail. All ye who wish to be spared her royal rotund rage, slap it up! Do it! Slap it now! Let me watch you!
Hell no! 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 I refuse!
No!
And be sure to leave a generous gift for the mountainous monarch. A ham for the ham planet. Good ideas all. Plus, of course, you know, Mary was freaking married. I tended to forget that important little factoid. Chucky never seemed to be around much, and Mary only splooshed over her Pookie Pie when he'd bought her a gift, or when she was between beaus. I mean, obsessions. This was exceptionally rare, of course. She'd mostly go around blabbing indelicately about all her supremely nasty boom boom, whether real or fabricated, with Whiskers, Scumbanger, Artistic Director, and the Hogs, both of them. How the living, breathing, godforsaken fuck had she decided that she had the right to brandish her fleshy clunge in the face of my former crush just because I was seeing one of the innumerable guys that she had stalked once upon a time? Gah! You really feel the emotion springing off the page there. This is what I've been saying to you the whole time. Mary is so frustrating to be around. I would spend 30 minutes with this person and be like, I never want to see them again. We're never going to interact. I'll say hi in passing. That's fine. But that's all you get. I won't get fooled again. And yeah, I'm fully aware that all this reads like the irrational emotional roller coaster of a scorned woman who was hurt, enraged, frustrated, humiliated, guilty, and somehow sporadically indifferent. I can't possibly be the only person in the world who wound up losing my fool mind for a spell over getting my own crushes tangled up with those of another person who ran in many of the same circles, especially when you consider that we were all in Erickson's intimacy and isolation stage of development. Oh, I didn't know that was a choice. Somehow I picked both. I want to be in a relationship, but I also need a lot of space. Go ahead and tell me how irrational all of this is. What an astoundingly astute observation! I would have never noticed. Your wisdom won't help me avoid having done something dumb 10 plus years ago, but it will be good for the algorithm. Yes, bless algorithms. Okay, I'm done being salty. Gotta leave some salt for the hot dog man. Oh man, if we have any more of that, I'm gonna get kidney stones. We did a summoning to resurrect the soul of Ramtide last night. It worked. He's back walking the earth. I'm sorry I covered up his death for a year, okay? That was a fun live stream. You should join us for our Sunday Funday streams if you're available. Monday 1 a.m. in the Philippines, like noon on Saturday. For the people in the US, I guess evening time. It's evening time in Europe, right? Those live streams are perfect for our Euro friends. Returning to the ridiculous events of the story, Dennis was almost finished with his graduate program and was planning to move to New York that summer while I still had another 2 years to go, counting the internship. But we both worked in the neuropharmacology lab that semester, so I still had to see him every single week. Even though nothing had happened between us in many, many months, I never knew if Dennis was going to acknowledge my presence or look right through me. I kind of do that sometimes too. He might be slightly autistic. The power of invisibility isn't all it's cracked up to be, you know? But the next time I saw him following the Mary tryst, he very deliberately approached me and said in a timid, almost apologetic tone, "Well, can we please talk after lab?" I shrugged. "Please, something really weird happened to me, and you're the only person I trust to talk about it." I shrugged again, but I felt the shrug gradually morphing into an affirmative nod. Just turn to him and sarcastically say, "Wow, weird things happening to a weird person. I'll extend you the same courtesy that you extended me. Or maybe actually a bit more than, since I'm telling you face to face to get away from me. I don't want to talk to you." And they watch him slink away and know that you've won! The crush has been defeated! Dennis asked me to get into his car, but I couldn't stand the thought of sitting in the ghost of Mary's snail trail. Yeah, gross. I insisted that we sit in my car, and he didn't protest. The familiar scent of mandarins and mountain air wafted through my Prius as I steeled myself for a confrontation. Dennis, "I think your friend stalked me." OP, you mean the crazy bitch with the big old boobas? Dennis. Yeah, she messaged me on Facebook, and she was talking like you told her about me, and thought that we should hang out. I said we should call you and invite you to come along, but she said you have a boyfriend. Do you have a boyfriend?
That's none of your damn business, and I'll thank you to stay out of my personal affairs.
I guess that is the early 20s. You just lay claim to every person of the opposite gender that you come across. Our genitals touch. We're cosmically intertwined now. You have to think about me forever. OP says, I'm seeing someone, but he's not my boyfriend by any means. What does it even matter, Dennis? I guess it doesn't. Anyway, I met her at this 24-hour diner, and she drank like 10 beers, even though I told her that I don't drink. And then she stuck me with the tab. Who else but Mary? OP says, yeah, she does that, Dennis. That's really rude. Well, anyway, she eventually got all sloppy and literally started doing, like, mouth stuff to me under the table. And she burped in the middle of it. I kinda like that. What the fuck?
Hey, champ, that's really interesting. Next time, keep it to yourself.
You guys belong together, you know that? Just this oversharing, this love of disgust. Go to her. Surely she is your piggy princess. Opie says, my stomach turned and my blood boiled. I don't want to hear it. She already told me about your night. She sent me pictures of your dick and told me how you peed on her in a parking lot. Dennis. She said I would. Babe, Val, I'd never do that. I gave him a skeptical stare. I had no idea what to believe anymore. Dennis. Hand to God, I totally didn't whiz on her, but wait, she took pictures of my stuff? Well, yeah, she took the pictures, but you're the one that whipped it out for essentially a complete stranger. I took out my phone and showed him the picture. Dennis blushed ferociously and looked away. Finally, he said, I'm so ashamed of myself. Good. Hold on to that. It's the only evidence that we have so far that you're actually human. I sighed. You're always ashamed of yourself. That's why I stopped fooling around with you. It felt like you were ashamed of me too. Dennis. Babe, no, I just have to get right with God. Personally, I think God got a lot of other shit going on. Yes, omnipotent, okay, but also, he knows somewhere deep down I'm sort of sorry about it. A little bit. Isn't that enough? OP says, well, have you talked to God about Mary? Dennis. I'm not ready for that one yet. I feel dirty. Like, dirtier than usual. Nothing even really happened. She just, well, I mean, I never, but she put her mouth. I threw up in my mouth. Got it. She blew ya. You should feel dirty, dude. If only you knew where that mouth had been. Facts. Mary needs to go into quarantine for a long time. Dennis put one hand over his mouth, shielded his precious crotch with the other hand. Mary had undoubtedly neglected to mention being married, and that tidbit of information would have probably sent Dennis into a paroxysm of prayer. Was it my place to rat out Mary's marital status just to deliberately distress Dennis? Did I have the energy for his reaction? No, I was done with Dennis and all of his dramatics. Sounds logical to me. This ain't my garbage to dig through. I did feel illogically responsible for Mary's strange seduction and for Dennis's icky feelings. I mean, the dude didn't have to mess around with her. He could have put a stop to it. No one will ever convince me that men can't control themselves once the blood flow wakes the wiener. But even so. No, not even so. I said it as soon as you unveiled to him that a picture of his crotch was floating around out there. You're the one who whipped it out, dude. You did this to yourself. I will say that men can get really stupid around pretty girls. But there is always some sense of self-control, you know? You don't go all werewolf mode and forget the thing that happened. You're still you. You're still making choices. OP says, well, now I feel kind of guilty because she's mad at me that I'm dating a guy that she used to have a crush on, and she went after you because she knew that I used to have a crush on you. Dennis, you had a crush on me? For real? Ugh, had. Past tense. At first I scoffed, thinking he was being sarcastic. Then I looked at his wide eyes and realized that he may have been that clueless. OP, yes, Dennis, I massively had a crush on you. You knew that, but it was apparently too vanilla for you, according to Mary. Dennis, what, babe? I never said you were vanilla. I said you were classier than her. Yeah, that's a low hurdle, but I guess we take those. Alley Cats and Heat are classier than Mary. OP says, well, thank you. If that is really what you said to her, then I appreciate that. Dennis, striking his version of a smoldering pose. Oh, it's blue steel. So, do you still have a crush on me? God, he's so desperate. Can't you see him now for the tiny, pathetic little worm that he is? That's basically half your 20s, just people running around going, validate me! My existence matters, right? Yes, it does. Now shut the fuck up! OP says, I think I'll always wonder what could have been if we were just slightly different people, but I had to move on. I knew you didn't like me in that way, and it wasn't fair to either of us. Dennis, well, for what it's worth, I wish it had been your mouth the other night.
What? No, dude!
Oh, flattering. What a fucking prince. Get out of my face, you degenerate!
Degenerates like you belong on a cross.
OP finally smiles a little bit. I wished the same thing. Is that a flattering statement to make? I guess in this specific circumstance, because she actually still does like Dennis. If a dude that you didn't like said this to you, skeeved out instantly. There's a tip for everybody in my audience. Hopefully you know better, but if you don't, definitely never ever try that fucking line, okay? I didn't say that I had wished it out loud, and even though his words had made me smile, when I think back on this interaction, I do think Dennis was just blowing smoke, as usual. Totally. He's gross, dude. My smile gradually faded, and I felt very, very sad as I drove away. It was like I knew that I'd never feel Dennis-induced butterflies again. That's right, all them butterflies is dead. The rage hadn't ramped back up yet, but that part'll happen soon enough. Oddly enough, having that somewhat respectful, somewhat reassuring conversation with Dennis quelled my anger at Mary. A little. For a night or two. Don't get me wrong, I was still pissed, and I never let her get close to me again after that, but I also never made a big dramatic show of telling her off again. In my mind, that would have just invited more unnecessary drama. I mean, you nailed that one down for sure. I say just bide your time. Pick your moment when you can burn her succinctly to the ground. If she's dead and buried by everybody she's ever known, then there's no possibility of retaliation. Nobody actually likes her enough to try and retaliate. It's a foolproof plan. By tacitly distancing myself and henceforth keeping Mary at arm's length, she wasn't able to freak out over anything, and I was able to keep her fat ass out of my business. You hear that? It's the sound of a friendship dying. You think it's a sad sound, but it's not. It's a healthy sound. Friendships have to die sometimes. And where whiskey was concerned, I finally felt some sense of closure with Dennis after the aforementioned talk. So I leaned into the new relationship, and I began to genuinely enjoy the possibility of new romance. Nothing was super hot, but nothing was super weird, at least not yet. Having learned from my disgusting mistake, I knew that I tended to get tempted to speculate about incredibly offensive crap regarding whiskey whenever his behavior is unremarkable and not in keeping with the delightfully repulsive tone that this audience tends to enjoy, so I'll just end this chapter here. And before I officially wrap things up, I need to write a one-off about my pie-loving buddy and bring back some classic cringe, so please join me for a wild night that ends with a slice of maple walnut pie. You won't regret it. I never do. I don't know where to fit maple walnut pie into the chronology. I guess I could just DM OP and ask about it. But why not ask about it right here, publicly, on the video? So everybody can say you're rambling, ReddX. We don't want to hear any of this. This is how we have transparency, okay? I have all my conversations publicly and then I'm unimpeachable. Not unimpeachable, though, is Mary. Is OP, is Dennis, is Funky. It's all a very messy situation, but sometimes that's real life, you know? Sometimes you get a little caught up, start slip sliding away, and when you're at the bottom of the hill, you're like, shit, how'd I get here? Now I gotta climb all the way back to the top. Try and regain my sense of self. Easier said than done, of course. But OP seems to have managed to do it, and as always, I appreciate the stories. I'd also appreciate if you'd sign up on the Patreon or the YouTube memberships. Not OP, she's already done her part. But if you do enjoy the stories, then I would encourage you to support monetarily, because it really does mean the world. Anywho, I'm out of here for the day, but before I go, I want to remind you, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.